The early dawn painted the savanna in pale gold, the light stretching long shadows across the rolling grasslands. The air was cool but carried the faint heat that would soon swell under the rising sun. A small family of Australopithecus afarensis moved silently through the waist-high grasses, their bodies low and their movements cautious. The father's broad, scarred hands parted the stalks gently, his nostrils flaring as he tested the wind for the scent of danger. Behind him, the mother carried their youngest against her chest, her grip firm, the child's tiny fingers curled into her fur. The older child walked between them, imitating the father's measured steps, glancing around with wide, alert eyes. Every rustle in the distance could be the wind or the sound of a predator on the hunt. In the far distance, the cries of strange birds echoed, and somewhere unseen, a deep roar rolled across the plains. The family did not speak. Their language was in the flick of an ear, the quick glance, the subtle shift in posture. Together, they pressed onward, the will to survive uniting every step. By midday, the savanna shimmered beneath the relentless heat, the once cool air now heavy and dry. The cracked earth beneath their feet radiated warmth, and insects buzzed lazily in the swelter. The family moved slower now, the father scanning for shade while the mother shielded the baby's head from the punishing sun. Ahead, the glint of water caught their eyes, a small, muddy waterhole surrounded by low shrubs and trampled soil. They approached cautiously, aware that such places belonged first to the dangerous. Hoof prints of antelope and zebra mixed with the deep, clawed impressions of predators. The older child crouched low, mimicking the father's stillness, his gaze darting over the water's edge. For a moment, the air felt quiet, almost safe. They knelt to drink quickly, cupping the murky water in their hands. Then a subtle shift in the air. Leaves rustled, not with the playful chatter of wind, but with intent. The father's head snapped toward the acacia trees, eyes narrowing. Two figures emerged from the dappled shadows, saber-toothed cats, their massive heads low, amber eyes locked on the family. Muscles rolled under their spotted coats as they advanced, each step measured, silent but heavy with purpose. The waterhole was no longer a place of rest. It had become a trap. The father's throat vibrated with a sharp, guttural call, a warning laced with urgency. The sound cut through the still air, and the mother instantly reacted, shifting the baby higher against her chest. The child whimpered, sensing the tension, but the mother's grip was iron. The older sibling's small hands fumbled for a stick on the ground, his knuckles whitening as he copied his father's defensive stance. They closed in together, forming a tight, living circle, backs touching, eyes outward. The father stepped forward half a pace, crouched, and brandished a sharp-edged stone in his right hand. His arms slashed through the air in broad, deliberate arcs, the gesture more a threat than an attack, while his voice rose and loud, rhythmic cries meant to make him seem larger and more dangerous. The saber-toothed cats slowed their approach, their shoulders rolling in a predatory sway. Tails twitched in agitation, and their long fangs gleamed in the sunlight. One cat lowered its body, muscles bunching, as if ready to spring. The family's breaths came in short bursts, hearts pounding, every nerve on edge. The father's voice grew louder, harsher, each cry met with an answering snarl. In that tense standoff, the space between survival and death was no more than the width of a single heartbeat. It happened in a blur. From beyond the waterhole, a deep rumble grew into a thunderous vibration beneath their feet. A herd of gazelles burst into view, hooves pounding the ground in a chaotic rush, their sleek bodies flashing past in a blur of tan and white. The sudden movement shattered the standoff. The saber-toothed cat's attention snapped toward the easier, faster-moving prey, their heads swiveling to track the fleeing herd. The father didn't waste the opening. With a fierce yell, he hurled a jagged rock toward the nearest cat. It struck the ground just before its paws, scattering dust into its face. The predator flinched, ears flattening, and took a step back. That was all the time they needed. The mother dashed toward the safety of a rocky outcrop, clutching the baby tightly, her legs pumping with desperate speed. The older child followed, glancing back only once to see the father still behind them, arms raised, shouting in raw defiance. The cats hesitated, torn between the fleeing antelope and the small, defiant figure blocking their path. The father retreated only when the rest of his family had scrambled onto the rocks, finally climbing up to join them. Below, the predators melted back into the savanna, shadows disappearing into the tall grass as the sound of the gazelle stampede faded into silence. Night settled slowly over the savanna, the last streaks of orange fading into deep violet as a dome of stars emerged above. The rocky alcove offered a narrow shelter, its walls still holding the day's warmth, and a family gathered close within its shadowed embrace. The mother sat with her back against the stone, the baby nestled in her lap, its tiny breath soft against her chest. She stroked its head in slow, calming motions, humming a low, steady tone that seemed to anchor them in the quiet after the chaos. The older child lay curled beside her, still gripping the stick he had carried from the waterhole, as though letting it go might invite danger back. His eyelids drooped, but his ears twitched at every rustle from the grasslands below. The father crouched at the alcove's edge, sharp stone tool resting in his hand, his gaze fixed on the dark plain. Every now and then, he tilted his head to listen. The distant call of a hyena, the faint hiss of the wind through dry grass, the rustle of unseen life moving in the night. The air was cooler now, carrying scents of earth and wildflowers, yet beneath the calm, the weight of survival lingered. They had endured the day's peril not through strength alone, but by watching, acting, and protecting one another without hesitation. In the flickering starlight, their small circle seemed fragile, but within it lay something unbreakable, the quiet, unspoken vow that no matter what hunted them, they would face it together.